Now, let's talk about different costs which we can distinguish in the production process. There are two main types of costs: fixed and variable costs. And the definitions, the labels which we are going to use are shown here: FC and VC, fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs are expenses which do not depend on the level of output. In other words, these are the costs which the firm cannot avoid paying regardless of the level of output it produces, regardless of whether it works or not, regardless of whether your output is equal to 5 units or 5 million units or 0 units at all. For example, rent. If you start up a business, you will need to pay for certain premises regardless of how much you produce. For example, you want to open a corner shop and you need to pay certain rent to your landlord. Your landlord doesn't really care whether you are open 24/7 and you serve 1,000 customers every single day and make millions in profit. He doesn't care. Or you go on holiday and shut your shop altogether and don't work a single day at all. He will still want your rent to be paid. So he will still want to receive his rent. And you will need to pay this fixed cost regardless of the level of output. This is the main criteria. Fixed costs are the costs which do not depend on the level of output. Or similarly, you cannot avoid paying interest payments on your loans. If you've taken a business loan, again, the bank won't care what sort of profit you are making or how many units you've managed to produce, whether you operate on a large scale or small scale. Interest payments will be fixed regardless of your output level. Or your receptionist salary, again, the person really is not interested in how successful you are as a business. You will need to pay this regardless. This is the first type of costs. And second type of costs would be variable costs of production, which are costs which vary directly with the amount of output you produce. The higher your output level, the more you will need to pay, the higher your expenditure will be. The best example would be raw materials. Apparently, if you produce more units, you will need to use raw materials and your expenditure on materials will be considerably higher. Or wages to your staff or electricity costs are likely to vary with the amount of output. The more you produce, the more you operate, the longer hours you work, the higher this expenditure are going to be. Example, this is a sort of question which you will get in the actual exam. Very simple one. Read through this, think a little bit, write down your answer, and continue with the video after you know the solution. So stop the video now, think about this exercise, continue when you are ready. Ready? So we are talking about a small business, handmade furniture manufacturer, and the question asks you, what is the fixed cost for this particular business? Cost of wood? No, because this would vary with the amount of output. The more furniture you make, the more wood you will need to purchase. This is your raw material, and apparently this will increase with output. Labor costs? No, this will vary as well. If you want to produce more furniture, you will probably need more workers, more staff, and you will need to pay them higher wages for more hours worked, and as a result, your labor costs will be directly linked to the amount of output you produce. It will be variable cost. Rent of the workshop? Yes, this is the fixed cost because you will need to pay certain amount per month, again, regardless of how many desks, for example, or wardrobes you produce in a given month. The rent will not vary. Costs of glues and screws? No, this will be variable costs because you're likely to use more glue and more screws if you produce more furniture, so it will be directly linked to the amount of output. These will be variable costs of production. Cost of electricity for running machines? Again, you are likely to run machines for longer time period in order to produce more output. So you will use more electricity if you produce 10,000 desks compared to 3 desks per month. The more desks you produce, the more machines will operate and the more electricity you will use. So the cost of electricity will be variable costs for this particular business. So in this particular case, the correct answer would be C, the rent of the workshop. This will not vary with output and therefore it is fixed. Next, we use this difference between fixed and variable costs in order to distinguish between short and long run in economics. So please pay attention to this because students very frequently make mistakes in this judgment. Short run in economics is a period of time at which at least one factor of production is fixed. Usually this is capital. It's a time period during which we are stuck with a certain amount of capital and cannot vary it. Long run is a period of time which is sufficient in order to vary all factors of production. In other words, it's a time period in which all inputs, all factors of production are variable. It's a common misunderstanding for students to think that short run is a time period which is less than 1 year. I don't know where students are getting this from, but it's the most common answer I get in exams, and this is incorrect. Short run is not a time period below 1 year, and long run is not a time period above 1 year, not at all. What you need to understand is that time period, whether it's short or long run, strictly speaking, has nothing to do with time. It's more related to the type of business and technological process we are using. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that we talk about 3 different types of businesses, and our first business would be a pizza shop. We takeaway shop. We make pizzas. We run a little takeaway shop somewhere in a local neighborhood. Capital which we use in our production process will be a pizza oven and maybe a microwave. This is all devices, all equipment which we use. At the moment we have one oven and one microwave, and we are using to heat our pizzas to serve customers. And we serve, let's say, 10 customers per hour. This is our output. If we want to double our production, if we want to produce twice as many pizzas, serve twice as many customers, we need to double our capital, because this is our current capacity. We cannot produce more because pizzas take certain time period in order to cook properly. And with current facilities, with current capital, we can only serve 10 customers, only make 10 pizzas. If we want to double this, we'll need to double our capital. How long will it take us to double our capital, to purchase another oven and another microwave? Maybe an hour. We just drive to the nearest Argos store or even Tesco or any other store which sells domestic appliances. We purchase another oven and another microwave, bring it back, plug it in, and that's it. And we're ready. We've doubled our capital. We can produce twice as many pizzas as before. So what is the length of the short run for this business? It will be 1 hour. It's a period of time in which our factor of production capital is fixed. During 1 hour, we can only increase our production level by varying the amount of workers we use in the production process, by adding maybe more workers in order to serve more customers. But we cannot expand our production beyond a certain limit, which is dictated by available capital. So within 1 hour, we are stuck with a maximum of 10 pizzas per hour. If we want to increase this, we'll need to increase capital. And we can do this easily during 1 hour, slightly more than this. So in the long run, any period beyond 1 hour, we don't depend on the amount of microwaves we are using. We can have as many pizzas as possible. We can buy as many microwaves and ovens. It's not difficult at all. This is first type of business. Second type of business. Let's imagine that you are a car manufacturer. You produce cars. What is the short run for you? Short run period for you will be the period of time during which your capital, your production facilities are set at certain level. So you have one factory with one production line which has, let's say, 10 machines in it. If you want to double your capabilities, your production facilities, you will need to build another factory, commission another production line, have it installed. Only then you will be able to double your production. How long will it take you? I don't know, maybe a couple of years. So you will need to acquire land. You will need to get a building permission in order to build a factory in this particular spot. You will need to build it, have it constructed. You will need to purchase necessary equipment, have it installed, and then you will be ready. So it's likely to take you a couple of years. So for a car manufacturer, the short run is likely to be around a couple of years, because during this couple of years, your capital, your production facilities will be fixed. You can produce a maximum amount which you can using available capital. If you want to produce more, you will need to expand your facilities, which is likely to take you a couple of years. This is second type of business. And let's imagine that we are talking about a totally different type of business. You have your own private nuclear power plant. Yeah, that's a business too. Why not? How long would it take you to double your capacity? So you have one particular nuclear power plant at the moment, which produces a certain amount of output, certain amount of electricity, and you want to double it. How long will it take you to do? You will need to build another nuclear power station. How long will it take? I don't know, maybe 10 years, because it will be much more difficult to construct. It's not just a normal production line, which requires a building and a few machines in it. It has much more safety concerns, so it has to go through considerably more approvals and technical calculations before it can be safely installed. So it will take you, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 15 years to install another nuclear power station before you will be able to double your capacity and produce twice as many units of electricity. So the longer time period will only start for you beyond this period, beyond these 10-15 years. And during these 10 years, this will be short run for you because you are stuck with a certain fixed amount of capital and you cannot easily vary it. In other words, the length of the short and long run does not depend on time as such. It depends more on the nature of business and nature of the technological progress, type of capital used in this particular production process. Short run is not a period less than 1 year. Not at all. It's a period of time during which at least one factor of production is fixed, and long run is time period which is sufficient to vary all possible factors of production. Why is it important? Because in the short run and long run, cost curves will look totally differently, which will affect your production decisions, your business decisions, and it will affect your strategy.